Good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to call our regular council meeting to order Tuesday, October 25th, 2022. We have an agenda in front of us. Mr. Coleman, are there any additions or deletions?
Nothing from administration, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Someone want to move the agenda as presented? Councillor Wanchuk, thank you very much. All in favor? Unanimous. We have minutes of our October 11th, 2022 regular council meeting. Looking for a mover of those minutes. Councillor Balazar, any comments, questions? Seeing none, all in favor? That is unanimous. We have two public presentations this afternoon. We're going to start with Linda Cuppins from Leduc branch number 108 Legion with a poppy presentation. So we'll just meet over by the banners there, Linda. Always do, and certainly looking at thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, our second presentation, Kevin Nielsen. Come forward, just state officially your name and address, turn your microphone on, just use the bar at the bottom, and we have 5 minutes for your presentation. Whenever you're ready, you can start, sir. Yep.
Kevin Nielsen, our address is 50351 Range Road 225. I wanted to be here a couple of weeks ago when Karen talked, but my work prevented me. You've heard a lot from us and others regarding the Aspen Valley Wedding and Event Center over the last little while. And you may be getting tired of it, but so are we. I'd like to say that although my wife and I probably have been affected the most, our concerns and objections represent the sentiment of the entire community and all the local residents. This business and its owners' behaviors, attitudes, and attitudes have had a major negative impact on our entire community, especially Karen and me because of our immediate proximity. The huge number of problems with repeated major permit condition violations, defiance of direct orders from county administration, the dishonesty throughout the entire process are a matter of record, and I won't go into detail at this time, but if anybody has any questions regarding any of those, I'd be happy to answer them offline. The wording of the development of permit that they're operating under with the numerous conditions clearly intends to attempt to protect local residents from negative impact. It all sounds good on paper, but in reality, the conditions have been completely ineffective in protecting us and other residents from this nightmare. The development permit clearly states that violation of any conditions would render the permit immediately null and void. Despite this, with numerous flagrant, well-documented and repeated condition violations, this business continued to operate unabated until their permit expires at the end of this month. This is at least in part because, unfortunately, the county neither has the ability or resources to police this type of business, nor does there exist a legal mechanism for enforcement without a long drawn out and expensive court action. Pardon me. Combine these problems with a business owner that acts without any apparent respect for the rules, for the county administration, or for the residents. This creates a perfect storm that has resulted in a disaster for county residents. Of the approximately 8 similar facilities that have popped up in the county in the last few years, my understanding that only one has not resulted in a major failure. For some, especially this one, the failure has been spectacular. I think that it's well proven that this type of business has no place in our otherwise quiet rural community, and any allowing of such activities must immediately be reviewed, in our opinion. Agritourism, agribusiness is quite different from people / developers being allowed to use their land or buy land for the sole purpose of turning the land into a venue to host wedding, corporate events, and other types of ceremonies. Leduc County needs, in our opinion, to put a stop to this type of practice to preserve our agricultural community and way of life. Factors under consideration should include ensuring farming is the primary activity on the farm and looking at how non-agricultural activity might impact other farms and agricultural activity and the rural residents' way of life. Too much policy is restrictive, but not enough doesn't give the people reassurance and security about what the community looks like. Not everybody wants to live right next door or on the side of these venues. So where is appropriate for them to go, and what the hours of operation, what appropriate sound levels in the area are all matters worth considering. Several other jurisdictions, including Sturgeon County, multiple jurisdictions in BC and Ontario, are finding many of the same problems and are attempting to deal with the same questions. It's my understanding that Leduc County is planning to embark on a fairly major review of the land use bylaw, and specifically plans to address whether it is appropriate to allow this type of business in any agricultural area. With this in mind, I would ask council to address the following questions. Number one, will council commit to the anticipated broad-based review of the land use bylaw with timeframes and specifically give details regarding public input opportunities? Number two, given the dramatic failure of wedding venues and in agricultural areas of this county, will council specifically address the question of the appropriateness of this type of business in our agricultural regions? Number three, given the ineffectiveness of the current bylaw and amendment wording and the lack of tools and mechanisms to render permit conditions an effective method to protect residents from the negative effects of this type of business and activity, will council agree to immediately pass a bylaw amendment that will disallow issuing permits for this type of venue pending the land use bylaw review, effectively creating a moratorium on allowing these type of wedding facilities until the land use bylaw review is complete? Thank you very much for your time and your consideration. I apologize that we are so redundant, but we have to deal with this every weekend for the last couple of years, and it's a nightmare.
Well, thank you very much for coming in. If you'd like to leave your questions with administration, it'll be easier for them to respond back. And again, thank you for taking the time to come in. Are there any clarifying questions for the presenter? I am seeing none. Look for someone to move that for information. Councillor Smith, all in favor? It is unanimous. We will have a letter coming back to you, Mr. Nielsen.
Thank you very much.
And we are working on the land use bylaw, and the information will be coming out about how to get involved. All right, on to 4B. We have an introduction and then 3 service awards in 4C. So let's go to 4B, staff introduction, Mr. Honesty. I believe.
Good afternoon. I'd like to introduce Kristen Gitzel to council. Kristen is our new community support services coordinator within FCSS and comes to us with a bachelor's degree in social work. So we're happy to have her join the team. She'll be working directly with our residents one-on-one, but also in the community for programs and workshops and providing assistance as needed across the region. So we're happy to have her join our team. She's already been out in the community with Sarah, learning, training, meeting our partners, and we're happy to have her join our group.
Are you both kids?
My family's from Stony Plain area.
Not as local as.
Not the, there's a few that we work with.
The area. Dave, I think you have some service awards for.
Yeah, I do.
Burn all that up.
One of Dave. Madam Chair, members of the council, I think you're familiar with Mr. Desimoni. Dave Desimoni is the senior planner with our development services group. He's been with the county for 10 years. And so Dave, you've seen a lot of his work in this room. Of course, he's in council regularly presenting reports and giving advice to council. And he's handled a lot of the more difficult files, I would say, the Wildland Meadow file, Wizard Lake outline plan. So we give Dave the easy work. And he does pretty well with those things. So Dave's a great team member, does great work, provides excellent service to the public, works very well with our customers. And so that's why he gets those files and takes those very well, and does very well with those. So very happy to have Dave on the team, and congratulations, Dave, on 10 years.
Thank you, Grant.
Appreciate it.
More for a picture. Bring your.
And Madam Chair, I would like to bring up Ben Saldo as well. Ben is a planner with our regional long range planning group. Ben is also getting his 10 years recognition today. And so again, you've seen Ben here a lot, delivering reports and working with council and giving council good information, providing very good service to our ratepayers, and some specific things that Ben's been involved with and has led over the years. South of Devon area structure plan. He's picked up the Southern Country residential area structure plan project as well. Been providing reporting to council on the monitoring and implementation work as well. And so again, Ben's a great team member. We're very happy to have him on our team, and congratulations on being here. Thanks.
Okay, and then I think we have Mr. Van Beers.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, council members. Today I'm here to present to you guys Lloyd Shaver, our pest control officer. Lloyd has been with the county for 20 years. You may not have heard a lot about his work, and that's probably the way he likes it. It's a very demanding job, but the amount of care and concern that Lloyd puts into his work is really second to none. I've been blessed to be working with Lloyd. I remember first starting with Lloyd, it was probably within the first 3 or 4 months, I got to go out with him to do some dam removals, and just the amount of work that he puts into each and every pest control concern that he has to deal with is really inspiring. So I just like to thank Lloyd for 20 years and congratulate him for it.
Thank you for 20 years. You can stay. Or not. That's almost like. You're having some issues? Okay. Moving on to 5A, which is planning and development direct control permit application. And while you're setting up, Ms. Haberland, we're just going to wait. Councillor Smith is having some issues with his laptop, and we'll be back in a second. Or longer ones. Oh, I can hear him coming. Thank you. No worries, Councillor Smith. Whenever you're ready, Ms. Haberland, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and good afternoon, Council. Planning and Development bring forth a development permit application for consideration, which is direct control permit D-22-200. This application is located at the northeast 450-26 west of the 4th. It is adjacent to Highway 60 on the west side and approximately 2 kilometers north of Highway 39. On the subject lands itself is a farm buildings along with a shop. There's currently no dwelling on site. The map in front of us is a referral map, which we referred the application to. Planning and Development did receive no comments from any adjacent landowners, as well as no concerns internally from staff. So the subject parcel was districted from agricultural to direct control district on April 26, 2022. It redistricted approximately 3.04 acres of land. It is for the intended purpose of natural resource extraction, processing, removal of the clay, stripping, grading, and constructing a larger dugout than is required in our land use bylaw regulations. This is just a subject site that is in front of us for consideration today. It was in cropland. It does hold water there. The landowner's intent is to sell the clay and pursue putting a dugout there to collect the water that does accumulate on a yearly basis. Access will be off Highway 60, therefore they will require Alberta Transportation approval through a roadside development permit. The application does meet policies with respect to the municipal development plan, Edmonton Metropolitan Regional Growth Plan, and the land use bylaw. So like I said, the direct control district does permit that was approved for the natural resource extraction, processing, and remediation of the subject lands. Planning and Development are bringing forth a recommendation of approval of the development permit, subject to 10 conditions of approval, highlighting 5 of them in front of you, just that the approval will be granted for a period of 3 years only. And that will allow for the development of the dugout construction, clay extraction, and the total activities to be completed. Hours of operation shall be limited from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday to Friday, and 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. on Saturdays. No activity on Sundays or statutory holidays. Site remediation and restoration to agricultural land shall be carried out immediately following the completion of the dugout. and excavation activities, including the seeding of the area to grass to prevent erosion from occurring. All loads of material being transported shall be tarped approximately to ensure that material is not spread on the adjacent highway. It is not a county highway, but we want to still ensure that we don't have any spillage, of course, going on the highway from the truckings. Infilling and site grading shall not be permitted to impede or interfere with the natural flow of surface water onto the adjacent land or public ditches. The landowner is required to obtain approval under the Historical Resource Act, which they have submitted to the county and obtained. They said they are currently pursuing an Alberta Transportation Roadside Development Permit, and they are also required to pursue Water Act approval due to the dugout being 3,200 cubic meters, which is over the 2,500 allowed without Alberta environment approval. So therefore, Planning and Development asked for approval of the development permit application.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Councillor Wanchuk?
So through Madam Chair, we don't know where the material is going to be sourced right now. We know where it's coming from. We don't know where it's going. If the material, of course, is going into the county, whoever receives that material will be required to obtain a development permit as well.
Okay, is it supplemental? Yeah.
I've had lots of complaints over the extraction for content, all that sort of them.
Yeah, so through the chair, this past summer, we did have a couple extractions happening in the area, not on this subject lands particularly. It was on our county roads. We did put them through a development permit process. And I believe they did obtain a development permit. And the main reason exactly is for the dust control that was happening, and it was going to Devon at that time.
Ms. Haverland, what's the interplay between this approval of this development permit application and those from Alberta Environment or Alberta or from Alberta Transportation? Are they all independent of each other, but they need all of them? Or do some of them, will some of the approvals impact the others?
So through Madam Chair, we condition the approval to require that they obtain provincial permits. With respect to that, they have a requirement which relies right back to the landowner to obtain those. We would ask for copies of them as we did for the Historical Resource Act approval. They've already provided, and we would ask for the Alberta Transportation too. But if they were to not pursue them, then of course the whole project would be dependent on one after another, and they would
Correct.
have to.
And if they wait for 2.5 years and don't get them, this then would fall to the wayside for the 3 years. Okay. I have a last question. Number 6 talks about material being tarped. There's a lot of tracking, or there could be a lot of tracking on the highway just from the wheels. And who's responsible, or whose responsibility is that? Is that through Alberta Transportation and that kind of tracking onto the highway and the cleaning of the highway then thereof?
So through the chair, being that this is not a county road, yes, it will fall into Alberta Transportation's court.
Okay.
Normally we would put that on there that they obtain a road use agreement, but since they're not using our roads, we would just ask that they tarp it. But one of their conditions, I'm sure, of their Alberta Transportation permit will be the dirt that goes on that highway.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions for administration? Seems like we've covered all our bases, and we know that there's other approvals yet to come. Looking for someone to put a motion on the floor. Councillor Blaser, move the recommendation as presented. And the 10 conditions therein, that it be approved. Okay, looking for any debate on it? Comments, questions? Seeing none, going to call the question. All in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
On to 6A. Mr. Coleman.
Madam Chair, members of council, you have a report before you, the George Sawbuck Memorial Fund Scholarship for 2022. The recommendation is that Leduc County award the 2022 George Sawbuck Memorial Fund Scholarship to Sierra Harris in the amount of $136. A bit of background, Madam Chair, members of council. We had one application that was from this individual. She meets the criteria. She is registered at the University of Alberta in a Bachelor of Science program with a specialization in pharmacology. It was reviewed by the committee and the committee is recommending it. As you can see, it's before you today for your consideration.
Thank you. Okay, good news story. Someone want to make the recommendation for the scholarship? Councillor Balazer will. Thank you. And seeing no other hands, all in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you. We're now going to move into an in-camera session. And I would ask someone to move us in camera. Councillor Smith, all in favor? Yeah, that is unanimous, and we will wait. Mr. Meriglod, you can come forward. Hey, thank you very much. We are coming back out of an in-camera session. The only motion made in camera was to come out. We have no business arising from the discussion of the in-camera items. So with that, I will adjourn our meeting at 2:17. Thank you everyone for joining us this afternoon.